Hello and welcome to Raw Podcast with myself, Kugan Cassius. This week, absolutely delighted to be joined by a very, very long-term friend of mine, Adam Smith. This is really weird. I want to give people a little bit of context, actually. I've just done yours and now you're doing mine.
That's it. Return podcasts.
Absolutely.
Your chance to ask me a few things, maybe ones that I asked you or not. Yeah, look, we go back a long way, don't we? And it's always good to see you.
Absolutely. The last couple of years for yourself, when I say we don't know everything, we know what you've spoken about, and being in boxing, we hear stuff, etc., etc. But it's the worst thing in the world where we don't know something and we're told stuff that could be true or not true, etc. But just give me kind of a start point of a troublesome period for you, Adam.
I mean, I've nearly died. I think that's the lowest anyone can get in life. I had the most brutal of cancers. I mentally and physically pretty much fell apart, I guess. It was horrendous. Look, I worked at Sky for a long, long time, as you know, and I had some tough, some tough times in the fact that I was very, very obsessed with working as hard as I could, all in, and I guess. I found, when I found, and I've spoken about this before, when I found blood in my urine, I guess, I didn't know what it was, but maybe I sort of associated it with a lot of stress, a lot of, you've worked in the world of boxing for a long time. It's a tough business to be in, and I just wanted to strive to do the very best I could at all times for Sky and for my work ethic, which has been relentless. And look, when I found blood in my urine, I was obviously worried. And then, I eventually sort of got it checked out when it became more regular. And, that's when it all started to fall apart for me from a physical point of view. And, it's been a very, very hard time. Well, that was a very hard time. That year and a bit probably, and now it's good to be here. I've got a different perspective on life. I think I'm a slightly different version of myself. I'm a lot calmer. I wake up in the morning being very grateful to be alive, and I guess before I was waking up more stressed, more worried about things. We worked a long time away from home and on the road and weekends, and I obviously had family life. I've got a wife and 3 kids, but I guess a lot of that time on the road, you miss stuff, and I think I've got hopefully now a life which is more balanced. I still love what I do. I'm passionate about working, but I have to look after my health. I had brutal bladder cancer. There's no nice way of saying it. There was some cancer in my family, sort of older people, uncles, but no bladder cancer. They said to me, it was when I was first ill, they said that they thought it was a urinary infection. And then they said that it was likely to be either gallstones or bladder cancer. And I said, well, what's bladder cancer? And they said, well, it's normally a smoker's disease. And the average age is about 73, 74. And I was 51, so it was a weird one, them even mentioning it. But, unfortunately, I got called back to the hospital after some tests, and I was shown a screen where there was a huge tumour in my bladder. It was massive, and it was about to go through the muscle wall, and they didn't know at that point whether it was cancerous. So I had to have a biopsy, but before that, even my kidney had failed, so I had to have a nephrostomy tube put in my kidney to drain everything. And mentally and physically, I was in a very, very bad place. My family are incredible. Sky were incredible. And yeah, I got the awful news a couple of days later that I had aggressive invasive bladder cancer, and I had to have an emergency operation. Had to have my bladder cut out, my prostate cut out, 19 lymph nodes taken out. Yeah, it was horrendous. I'm very lucky to have had an incredible bladder consultant and a team. And yeah, I was in a NHS hospital, then I went to a private hospital, then I went back into an NHS hospital, then I went to a private. I was all over the place for a number of months. The operation was a success. There was no cancer, but then my body fell apart and I had an ileus, so I couldn't take any food. And I couldn't eat for a long time and lost 4 stone in weight. It was a dreadful period. But I was very supported by family, friends, people in the boxing world. Yeah, I mean, I went off, obviously, social media, I didn't really answer my phone, and I got a lot of amazing messages during that time. But yeah, it was a really, really hard period for my family and I, especially my kids. And Sky were incredible, the way they supported me. And you know, I got a lot of thinking time. The first thing was I had to get through it. At one point, I didn't think I would. I looked at myself in the mirror one time in the hospital, one of my hospitals. I remember looking in the bathroom mirror one morning and just seeing like a skeleton version of myself. I thought I was dead, Kugan. I thought there was no hope. And I don't know what got me through it. Maybe the 3 kids, maybe my ethic of trying and the work thing. I don't know what got me through it, but I'd never been ill. I'd never had a day off sick in my life through any physical illness at all. I think I broke my leg when I was about 11 skiing. That was about it. I mean, I didn't do illness. And I think, yeah, mentally, I think it was very difficult, very, very hard. But, you know, and then I had to get to the chemo. I had to hit a time where I had to have chemotherapy, which was belts and braces to make sure that the cancer had gone. And I had 12 weeks to hit that period, and I just about got it. And then I had 3 months of chemo, and that was a time my family went on holiday, and I was at home, and it was really difficult. And I couldn't walk properly at that time. I had to sort of learn to take steps again, and I sat in a shower for 2 months on a chair. It was horrendous. And it's not easy now, right? I'm much better than I was. I put the weight back on. You know, I can walk properly again. I've picked up a tennis racket over the summer, which was nice. But I've got a tube attached to me every night. I'm on meds. I have a bag, a stoma bag that sometimes splits, and so yeah, on the surface it looks like everything's fine. Underneath, it's my body's been ravaged, and it's pretty tough. But you know, I'm very grateful to be alive, and very grateful to have the opportunity to wake up in the morning. And it's not a cliche. It's I wake up, and I always wake up in a bit of pain, and I walk around, and that takes a few minutes to sort of sort out. But after that, I'm up and ready, and yeah, I'm just very lucky to be here for my family. And yeah, thank you to the doctors who saved me, and everybody that supported me from a mental and physical point of view. I would say especially Sky.
I'll go back to what I said at the start. There was that period of time, and us being in boxing, but to a lot of people, you kind of went missing, but no one knew what was going on behind the scenes, and no one knew that you were going through this. There were people that knew, but it hadn't kind of surfaced out publicly for everyone to know. So I think the first time I even heard about it, I was like how long, you know, has Adam been going through this? Because you know what it's like, Adam. It's like, you know, unless people do come out and say what's happened, it's like everyone kind of does speculate about what has happened, etc. And I think we've got to understand that this is your situation. This is personal to you and your family. And it's not really anyone's business.
Yeah, quite right.
It's for
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And you're an interviewer. And as I said on my podcast, the thing I've always respected about you is that you always give the opportunity to, you know, for somebody to look at the stuff and make sure they're happy with it, etc. And I think that you know, in boxing especially, everybody wants to know everything about everyone. And you know, family is family life. I talk about my kids a bit to you, to people I see in the sport, and my wife. I don't really publicize everything. It's family, and it's different. My family and friends and personal life is slightly different. And I guess I hung around with Johnny and Matt and all the guys at Sky and Tasha and everybody, and you know they're almost like my work friends. But you know, we all have social lives outside of our work. But I think work was so massive for all of us at Sky, the whole team. We loved what we did. We just wanted to do it. It was so much fun, and we were doing something that was great, and we put everything into it, you know, our heart and soul, and you know, cut most of them open, and we just bleed Sky. And it was amazing times. We've got fantastic opportunities, wonderful memories. Worked really hard going around the world. Yeah, I got the chance to report, to commentate, to present, to run a team. It was fantastic, and developing women's boxing, mentoring Savannah Marshall, Daniel Altmaier, incredible stuff at Sky. And yeah, I think maybe you're saying that I went missing. Maybe it's because I guess I've been around.
That was the perception, though, wasn't it? Because that was just like almost like where's Adam Smith gone? But when no one knew, it's like, well, where has he gone?
Oh, it's interesting because, like, you look back at, I don't know, Claude Abrams, who used to be the boxing editor of Boxing News, or Ian Darke, who was boxing commentator for so long and then went to do football, or Bob Mee, who, you know, was ill and sort of drifted away from boxing. And people have lives outside of boxing. And when you're faced with a life and death battle, you know, I'm not brave enough to get into a ring, but I had to fight through this. And I'm telling you, it was really hard. I worked out the other day, I had probably over 150 blood test needles in me. I was in absolute agony around my entire sort of stomach area, midriff, for about 3 months. They couldn't work out what it was that was giving me that pain, until my brilliant GP worked it out. And I had a team of doctors. You know, I had a cardiologist, I had a bowel consultant, I had a bladder consultant. It was, my whole body was ravaged, and I'm very lucky. I'm cancer free. I'm stronger than I was. Will I ever be 100%? I don't know. I sometimes do work and you know, do different things now as though I'm still what I was. But I've got to take it seriously. You know, it's health, and I'm just very lucky to be around for the family. And you know, I was really, really close, and that's no exaggeration. I was very, very close. You know, there was a time where I didn't think I was going to make it, and neither did my consultants, I think. So, yeah, I've got them to thank. And, you know, I'd be honest, I was during COVID, everyone was clapping for the NHS, and I'd probably only been in a hospital for the births of my 3 kids. And I was clapping and didn't really know why I was clapping. And having gone through the system and having weeks and weeks in hospitals with these incredible doctors and nurses who work unbelievable hours, ridiculous, against, you know, real hardships and in very, very tough circumstances. I've got so much respect and gratitude, and it made me go and want to help out. So I went to the Acton Homeless Association, which is near me, and also to the food bank. You know, I didn't even know what a food bank was, being honest, 2-3 years back, and now, you know, I help out at a food bank, and yeah, you just learn about life and a perspective, and yeah, it changes a lot of things, a lot of values. And when you've been rock bottom like I have, and like many other people have, and I'm not saying that there's a lot of people who've got a lot more difficulties than me out there, but I went through a lot, and I'm just lucky to have come out the other side.
How did you cope mentally in that period? How would you sum that up, how you cope mentally?
Really hard. Times on my own in hospital, which were really tough, but I had fantastic support. People came and visited me, which was brilliant. Obviously family and friends, but I had a lot of people from the boxing world come in. You know, those that knew what was going on. Eddie was one of the first through the doors. Lots of them. Ben came. I had loads of messages from Frank, from Calla, from, you know, everybody involved in boxing, and the fighters, loads. You know, AJ and I talked at night, at times messaging each other when he was training out in America. Tyson was very supportive with messages, mental health, physical health. Yeah, really, really great, and so many others. You know, not just the top names. It was great, and obviously all my guys. You know, Johnny and Matt and people. It was yeah. I I was well supported. Those that made it through the doors in hospital would tell you what state I was in. It wasn't pretty.
There is something about boxing, as much as there are so many negatives on kind of what happens outside of the ring, but boxing does come together in situations. I don't know how much of a comfort or a silver lining, considering what you've been through, is, but I suppose when you come out the other side, or sort of out the other side, I'm not going to say you're completely at full health now, Adam. You referred to the fact that you wasn't, but does it offer you some comfort that, like I said, the industry that you've worked your whole life in, the people that you've worked with, and just boxing as a whole, that you had some support there?
I wouldn't say some support. I had masses of support. Yeah. And I think that, I went to a Misfit show with my daughter in
That's
Manchester.
where I saw you for the first time since then.
Yeah, I was really not well then, KSI and Tommy Fury. And I only went because my daughter likes Tommy Fury and wanted to see it, and we were up in Manchester anyway on a university trip, but I wasn't well. But I went back to that, and everyone was so lovely, and I went to Dublin to see Katie, who's a long-term friend, and I saw her fight Chantal, and again, everybody, it was a Matchroom show, and I guess it was a nice one to come back to because, I know them very well, all of them, and it was fantastic to see everybody. Yeah, and it was weird for me because I'd helped set up Ben and Sky before I got ill with all the Olympians that we signed, with the Ben Whitakers, the Fraser Clarks, Lauren and Karis, Caroline, and we Adam Azim and people, and we had a really good setup, and I was really looking forward to sort of seeing how that built. But when I took a step back, I didn't really watch a lot of boxing. I was, as I said, I mean, again, another cliche, but I had my own fight to deal with. And I think when you have that situation, when you're in that, it does. I think my family sort of basically told me, they didn't want me watching anything or involved. I had my own battle, my wife and my kids were so supportive, and my kids, they were all, obviously incredibly worried, and it was a very, very stressful time for all of us. I think everybody's pleased I'm through. I've really spent some quality time with my three kids. They're 18, 16, and 13, and I guess I'm probably more connected to them than I ever have been. I've been around a lot more, and they helped nurse me back to health at home. And I think it was good I did that behind closed doors. Jonathan Licht and everybody at Sky were just incredible. It seems actually quite a long time ago that now, because this year's been a much more positive year. I've been back out doing some work, doing some different things, being a freelancer for the first time, but having the ability to sort of choose what I do a little bit, and maybe the pace of it. I'm still doing quite a lot and traveling a lot, but maybe not the flights and the intensity that it was at Sky. I miss Sky. I miss my friends, my great colleagues. But I was there a long time, Kugan. 29 years is a long time to be anywhere. Well over half my life. I think I did a good stint, and I'm ready for new challenges and fresh ones ahead, and excited about different things. I'm working in the PFL this weekend. I'm doing some great stuff with mentoring athletes for Summit Sports. I'm helping Izzy at GBM on the promotional side. I'm doing a bit of broadcasting. I'm doing the podcast. It's great fun doing different things. And my wife's got to keep pulling me back and saying, don't work too hard, don't travel too hard, your health. I'm cancer-free though, Kugan, and I'm in a good place. So every day is valuable for me now. I live a day at a time, and I'm just grateful to see the sunset and the sunrise.
Sorry. Adam, did you contemplate not returning to boxing during this period?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I did. I did. I thought it's such a difficult sport to be sort of a little bit in or half in. I've been in it since a little bit before Sky, but when I joined Sky when I was 22, it was straight over to the boxing team, and Vic Wakeling put me in the team with Gary Norman. It was only two of us, and it started there. So yeah, I like you, football is your big love. I love all sports, and I grew up on football, cricket, tennis, darts, snooker, everything, not just boxing. Boxing was one of the things. I looked up to Tommy Hearns, Barry McGuigan. They were my heroes, and but also so was Kenny Dalglish and Sammy Lee at Liverpool, and so were David Gower on the cricket scene, and Alex Hurricane Higgins in snooker, and Jockey Wilson in darts, and John McEnroe at tennis. I love sportsmen and women, and I always have. I just have them on my wall still. I think because I was never any good at sport. I could play a little bit of stuff, but I was never any good to get into even the top teams at school. I just loved watching the greats do it, and still do. I have so much respect for any athlete that is dedicated or brave enough to get out there on the field or in the ring or whatever sport it is. But boxing became my life and my business. I loved the period of going around the world and interviewing the likes of Oscar De La Hoya and Roy Jones, and being in camp with Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson and Miguel Cotto, and I got very friendly with Diego Corrales and Shane Mosley and so many greats over in America. Obviously the Klitschko era in Germany, the great Brits, your man Nassim Hamed and Ricky Hatton and other of your friends. Joe Calzaghe I knew since he was a teenager, and we've always been very close through family connections in Newbridge. And obviously AJ, and working with Frank Warren and Eddie and the great times, Katie and all the women too. I think towards the end I started doing some darts commentary at Sky, and I probably just felt I needed a little bit of a change. I think that I don't know, does it get bigger than AJ Klitschko at Wembley that night, which was just one of the greatest fights of all time and just an amazing moment? And then you go again the next week, you're in a small hall somewhere, and I think maybe, like with anything, I don't know if it's you get tired but drained, and probably I just needed a new challenge. I think I really, really felt it when Eddie went. It felt like a divorce, and Eddie and I used to speak 5 times a day. We were always up on those dioceses together, and we worked off each other, and I really, really missed him when he went. I liked working with Ben. It was a new challenge, but I think for me, Sky move on, and I move on, and it's great, and it's nice to be doing different things, and it's great to be turning on Sky and seeing that they're still doing some amazing, magical TV production and great shows.
Because I remember around the time, and there was a lot of speculation regarding Hearn and the Zone, and it was almost like, it was constantly every week, and everyone did wonder about like the future of Sky once Hearn had kind of parted ways and went with the Zone. And I mean, I did myself. I was thinking, like, what's going to happen now? And I think, but my question was to you, once Hearn had kind of made his mind up, are you saying that you then started to think about possibly going a different direction from that point?
I think I spent more time with Eddie and the Matchroom crew in lockdown than I did with my Sky team. I think it was just that it was COVID. We had the fight camps, then we had that bizarre situation at the Hilton at Wembley, where we were sort of in there all week and then going over the road to the arena and fights in front of 50 people, and it was just strange, wasn't it? And I mean, almost like
how do you explain that to someone in the years to come?
You can't. It's how do you? I mean, COVID testing and all of that,
staying in your room for 24
hours, and getting food by under your door and all that. It was crazy, and then you're let out into sort of a corridor of space for 3 days with no
hotels that we've been to, and we know like, all the different parts of the hotel, but you're being screened off and sectioned off. Yeah.
Sections. It felt like that, didn't it? It felt you were absolutely trapped, but at that time I spent a lot of time with Matchroom, and I remember doing one face-off that they did. Like our sort of gloves are off that Johnny did at Sky, and doing a face-off. I can't remember who it was with. Anyway, I did a couple of them actually during the COVID time. I think it was Scott Hamilton who said, will you do that for us? And I was no problem at all. And I remember Ben Shalom in Wind Forward a year or so saying he didn't want me involved in the sort of process of going to Sky and trying to get in because he thought I was a Matchroom guy, and he thought that all I would be against anyone bar Eddie. Look, I respect all promoters. I've got a great relationship with all of them. Thankfully, I have massive respect for Frank. I get on really well with George. Cal and Nissa have been good friends of mine for a long time. And, but there's Mick Hennessy, all of them. Frank Maloney, Kelly Maloney now. We've had some amazing times together. But there was definitely something special with Eddie and I. I don't know if he thinks it, but I certainly did. Maybe it was because he was, developing and I was head of boxing at Sky, and it just sort of, leisure centres went into arenas, into stadiums, and it was a wonderful period with AJ's development, Froch Groves and everything that brought. And then they made Mayweather Pacquiao worldwide, but back home we had the likes of Bellew and Hay and Crawler and just so many, weren't there? Fantastic stories. And I did. I was tempted to go with Eddie. It sort of feels like there's unfinished business still. That I don't know. I love Barry and Eddie and Frank Smith. Very close to Frank, and the whole team there. And whenever I go to a show of theirs now, I went to Johnny Fisher the other week. I took my one of my daughters, and we went there, and it was like coming home to my friends, and I saw Eddie afterwards, and I was doing some interviews for Boxing News, and he goes, "Hello, mate," and he's like, it's like old times. What's this? Adam's, and it just felt, and I know he's a busy man, and he's, I don't get as many phone calls these days, but yeah, it was a really tough time for me, but I'm glad that Ben came along, and I had a new challenge, and that was great, and I enjoyed my time with Ben, and we got really close, and I hope I helped him out. I still chat to him, to Eddie, to Frank, to all of them. So it's nice being in a situation where hopefully, and I felt that from the boxing world and coming back, Kugan, is that there was some respect and some. I didn't think I was. I thought everyone hated me. I didn't think I was popular at all. I thought, you're right.
Yeah, all good.
You read forums or you don't, you keep off them, and people say, that you're there to be slagged. Commentators are there to be, there's a lot of hate, and that's mental fortitude as well. But I tend to sort of try and listen to the people that I respect in the business, but you just start thinking, do people really like me or don't they? I've just been hanging around for a long time. But actually, the sort of welcome back into boxing, and I have many different little roles, I'm not going to be there and thereabouts like I was, but it's just nice. And I guess I made the decision that boxing is what I know. I am doing some MMA. I'd love to do some darts again. I'd love to do other things. I'm writing, but yeah, boxing is what I know. So I guess I wanted to work, and so I came back into it.
Boxing definitely missed you, and I think it was probably more highlighted, like I said, in the period that you were going through what you did, but we didn't know this from the other side, or some of us didn't know this. But I think it was quite evident that we are kind of used to hearing you, and we're with the big fight nights and just the general fight nights that we have in this country, and we're used to hearing you. So I've stopped taking notice of internet warriors and trolls a long time ago, and it's a lot more of a peaceful life when you're not looking for the negativity, because sometimes if you go looking for stuff, you're going to find it. So everyone's going to have an opinion.
It was quite peaceful being off social media for a while. I mean, although I was going through hell and back in hospital, it is peaceful, and we're pretty hardened to the business, aren't we?
You come across, and you've always come across as a bit of a workaholic. Like, you've literally, I'm not saying obviously you have your wife and kids, but that aside, it's like you've put literally your heart and soul into what you've done over that kind of whole nearly 30-year period. Is it fair to say that like certain health issues, that's kind of affected from how relentless you are with your work?
Who knows? Who knows? And I did some genetic testing in the follow-up when I went, after I'd gone through all the hospital treatment. My sister-in-law is a doctor, and she wanted to, me to go through that just to see that if there's any risk for the kids and or more risk. And I did. I went through the genetic testing, and I think if I'd had one of the syndromes, it would have meant that that would have made me more likely to get the cancer. But I didn't. It was, fortunately, there was nothing there genetically. So in the testing, so fortunately for my family, that put everybody at touch wood at a relief. So yeah, who knows what caused the illness? Is it a combination of age, of factors, of diet, of stress, of who knows?
Do you get stressed easily in your life in general?
Yeah, I did. I did get stressed. I always took a lot on, and I always wanted just to do the best. And I've been a people pleaser a lot of my life, and I think that running a team was tough at Sky when you're trying to everyone you want everyone to be happy all the time and doing their best work, and sometimes people are not. They want another opportunity, or they want this, or you've got to make hard decisions and sort of who goes on air and who doesn't, and yeah, it's hard. I never wanted to be a manager. I always wanted to be a commentator. When I was 9 years old, I wanted to be a sports commentator. I turned the TV down and I spoke. That's all I wanted to do. And when I got the opportunity, and Barney gave it to me to become head of boxing, it was like, wow, that's fantastic. And you move sort of up, I guess, a level, or certainly in business terms. But I never wanted that. And I think as a manager, I was probably pretty bad. I mean, I was good in many ways, in that we had a great time for boxing, and I had a fantastic team who were far better and more talented than me. But I was probably terrible in that, I let them do sort of what they want and get on with it. And I never used to, I hate confrontation. I never used to sort of, and if I had to, it was really hard, really difficult. Barney will tell you that. And yeah, maybe it wasn't, that role wasn't for me. And it probably added a lot of pressure to my life. But I loved it, and I loved my team, and I loved the times. And look, I used to say, if you go to work and you just love what you do, and I know that you do, it's...
Are you really working?
What a blessing. Yeah. Are you really working? And I'd say that 90% of my job I absolutely loved pretty much all the time. Yeah, there were better times. I think maybe the early days of Sky when it was a bit more creative and we could just go out and do things and take more risks. But there were the times with Eddie that we did that. And then I think it got a bit more corporate when Comcast took over and boxing went into multi-sports. That was a change. And I think the team ended up doing slightly different things. Like I went to do darts and other people went to do different things. And yeah, I think that sort of core time that we had together, that wonderful sort of camaraderie and working off each other and innovation. And we used to have these away days where we just came up with these ideas, and then we went and had a night out or something. And yeah, it was working hard and playing hard. And yeah, maybe it took its toll, but I'm not blaming anything for it. It happened. I loved what I did at Sky, and I love life now. I'm very, very happy. I'm very lucky to be with us. I'm here. I've had tragedies in my life. I've lost friends. I know you have as well, and you go through a lot of grief and a lot of difficult times, and I'm just very, very lucky to be here, and I say my prayers every day, and I write a gratitude list. I'm very, very happy to be here, and I'm in a good place. I'm calm, and yeah, work is tough. And am I a workaholic? Yeah, I probably am. I worked yesterday, and I'm working tomorrow, and I'm working the next day, and yeah, I think I have to be reined in at times. But I'm never going to stop working. I'll stop breathing first.
Right, just a couple more things I've always wanted to ask you while I've got you here. The best ever boxing program, hands down, anywhere ever, was Ringside. It generally was. Were you in favour of that not continuing? I'm talking about the original Sky format on Sky.
I loved Ringside. It was one of my most favourite things I ever did in my life, and then just Sky. It just worked, and it worked because we had phenomenal guests, and we had an opportunity to tell stories, the length and breadth of the world or the country, or we could bring news, we could grassroots or top level. The amount of people that walked through onto that Ringside set was extraordinary, from the likes of, I mean, the Tyson Furies and the Lennox Lewises to the Sugar Ray Leonards to the Tysons to the Barreras they were all Klitschko's. They all came in, and we had actually a big sort of mural of a ringside when we were on stools, and we got everyone to sign it. And those, I mean, we must have had pretty much everyone in boxing that was still alive signing that that sort of picture. It was amazing. It was great times. Was I in favour of it going? No. I loved it.
Had to go?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the magazine shows went from Sky. Yeah, things were changing. Social media was becoming more prevalent. You guys were getting shorter, sharper content and quicker. Ringside was a weekly magazine show, so it probably hit me most when Emmanuel Stewart died, and it was there was rumours that he had died, and then he had, we weren't sure if it actually had happened, and we had to, I think we did a live one, or we recorded a show and then did it live, and then afterwards he had to keep changing it. And Manny was one of the most incredible people I ever worked with in boxing, and that really affected me because we were I was talking about somebody who was passing, and it was really sad, and it was like we were changing sort of because there was no chance really to sort of go again the next day and do it all again. So it was really difficult. It was better when we did it live, and then obviously things could happen 5 minutes later, and the show sort of out of date. So I guess things like that were becoming more difficult. Johnny said to me, and I think it was made, Johnny was brilliant. He couldn't read an autocue. They tried to get him to start doing it. He couldn't, and I just said, just tear up Johnny's script. I said, I'll do I'll intro it, and I'll just hand it over to him, and he can have his sort of freewheeling fun and get in the ring and chat to the fighters. And Johnny's amazing, and that's how it worked. And we had the great episodes with Froch and Groves, or DeGale and Groves, or Khan and Brook, and Fury and Hay and Klitschko's, and different rooms and all that. We had some amazing times, and I remember Conor Benn coming in when Nigel was in, and he was a probably 15, 16-year-old kid at the time, and just loads of great things and specials we did. And but I do remember we were all so sad when it went. I remember sort of lost pictures on the set and all that. But it was a tough decision. But Johnny always says to me, leave the party at its highest. When you're at a party, you don't want to be there till 3, 4 in the morning and sort of, straggling around. You want to get in, have a great time, and leave. And I think we left when it was at its highest. And it's probably the question that's asked most to me by people I see around is, when's Ringside coming back, or what happened to Ringside? So I'm glad it had a great effect. I'm glad it was. You
got me on it, didn't you?
You were on it.
I had one episode on it.
I remember you coming on.
Yeah, I came on.
We had all sorts of things. We had a spider crawling across the set one day that frightened the life out of Spencer Oliver. There was all sorts of things that happened in that amazing venue, and I loved it. So very disappointed, I think, at the time, but I think it was the right decision probably in hindsight, and amazing memories of fantastic episodes, fun, team effort, great producers. We were all passionate about what we did, and everyone wanted to come on the show, and it was great. No, you can't keep everyone happy. What you've got to do, as I always think, you just got to do the best job you can. That's what I've always tried. I've never thought I was a good commentator or a great commentator or anything like that. All I do is I just try my best each and every time. It really annoyed me And it really annoyed Matt and the team when people used to say that we were biased towards fighters. And I think that's really hard. Obviously, we're promoting, if you're with a matchroom and Eddie Hearn and you're promoting AJ and he's part of the business. But I look at it when Andy Ruiz tore him apart in the garden. Did we say, oh, AJ should have won that? Of course not. You go with what you say. And I've always thought when you pick up the mic, you say it as it is. And I hated that. And we said about, oh, Jack Catchell beat Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor was our fighter. He was a top-ranked fighter. But Jack Catchell won that fight. I mean, that annoyed me. That got to me a bit. But at the end of the day, people are always going to say things, and you're there to be. Every commentator, every presenter is there to be shot down or to be argued
Company
against.
man Nelson.
Huh?
Company man Nelson.
Well, it's everything, isn't it? But I'll turn on Johnny when he said it's 1,000% chance. Or
I remember I did the interview. Yeah.
Or Alexander Usyk's an average southpaw. I'll turn on my own.
You know what he's saying now, didn't he? He's saying that Fury
something.
doesn't get in the ring on the 21st of December.
Well, didn't he say that about the last one? I don't know, I love Johnny, but sometimes he'll say what he believes or what he wants to say, and I love him. He's my best friend in boxing, probably. But look, it's difficult. What I always say is I really admire fighters more than anything, but I also really admire commentators, and because I know how hard it is, and I know how much research you got to do, and how much it takes, and how much energy, and people are all entitled to their opinion, and some might like you, some might not. I've never thought I was any good, but I tell you what I have always thought is I've always tried, and I've always been passionate, and I've always loved what and respected what was in front of me, and that's what I'll always do, whether it's on a smaller show or a bigger show. We wouldn't be here without the sportsmen and women, and I always remember that. But I think what my cancer and the battle back has taught me is to be much more humble and much more grateful for the opportunities and the chances that I had, and the luck I got on the way, maybe, but I worked hard, and I always put my best in.
Well, listen, Adam, much appreciate your time, and it is brilliant that you are cancer-free. You are obviously still not 100% yet, but you are getting there, and it's great to have you back in boxing. I think boxing genuinely did miss you for when you were going through that, and I think that it's brilliant that you've decided to come back into the sport that you are so passionate about.
Thanks, Kugan. It's nice to be back. It's nice to see everybody again. This year's been a good year, and last year was horrendous, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But everybody's got battles in life, and I think I've learned so much from it. And I just know now that, the doctors and the people that have helped me mentally and physically to get through this, and the great people at Sky, and the great people I'm now working for at Summit Sports, at GBM, at Loungers TV. Really, really enjoying that again. Doing little bits on TalkSport, which I'm loving. It's nice to be back behind a mic. But do you know what? It's not life or death, and that time was. I'm a lucky boy to still be here, and I'm appreciative of every day.
Right, the last thing I'm going to get you to do, I just thought of it there. We're going to do a 20-second improvisation. I'm going to give you three scenarios in this, or 3 points in this, and you're gonna come up with something here. So it's Kugan Cassius versus Eddie Hearn. The fight lasts 30 seconds, and it's for the WBC heavyweight title.
So here we go in the blue ribbon division. Coming out of the red corner, Eddie Fast Car Hearn, and it's Kugan, IFL. He's the man, Cassius. Big shots from Eddie first, but here comes Cassius. Oh, Kugan Cassius, right hand, lays Hearn out, flat on his back. He's not getting up from that. The count, you don't need it. All over by knockout. Kugan Cassius, WBC heavyweight champion of the world, and Eddie Hearn. Well, they're coming in now. All the entourage, the Matchroom team, they're picking him up. He's all right. He's okay. It's all right. It's all fine. Eddie's back on his stool, but Kugan Cassius celebrates. He's taken him out, and it was clean. It was clear. It was decisive, and I've gone on way too long.
That is one of the best things I've ever heard in my life. When you were saying it, I was visualising doing it. I was manifesting that shit, Adam. Adam Smith, thank you very much. And we'll definitely catch up with you again, probably in Sheffield the week after Joshua.
Brilliant.
Guys, thank you for listening. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, follow. You know what to do. And we'll catch you next week on Raw Podcast. Thank you very much.